Hello, friends. My name's ssuartscire, and this lady beside me also has a name. Can you tell them what it is?
Rachel La Pelosa.
And together, we're here to host another exciting episode of Talking with Famous People. As you can see, we are comfortably reclined in the bed of the Doubletree Inn. We were, and kind of casually still are, watching the Washington Texas football game. But at this point, it's looking like Washington's going to put this thing away. It's only 6:50 left in the fourth quarter. Washington's got a 10-point lead and the ball. And has converted a couple of key. Oh no! Okay, dropped it. It was almost an interception. We're rooting for Washington because I am long trained as a Pac-12 fan, Pac-10 fan. I don't remember the Pac-8, but I always root for Pac-12 teams against other teams from other conferences. So anyway, life with a staged house. Rachel and I are, as anybody likely to be watching this already knows, are in the process of selling a house and buying a house someplace else. This has been a very eye-opening process for, I think, both of us. I've never done any real estate deal before.
Me neither.
Neither has Rachel. And there's a lot to it, frankly. It's a lot of stuff you got to do. But and there are complications that you just can't really anticipate. For example, we've been discussing what to do about our residency here, given that we were anticipating staying in the house after it was staged, while it was being sold. It basically turns out it's impossible. Not only is there nothing in the house that's real, really, but you have to keep it impeccably clean. Hello, Lou. How are you this evening? In a little bit, I think I'll put the HDMI cable into the TV here. I'll be able to see the chat better. Regardless, so, this was a bit of a shock to our systems when we sort of realized we're going to have to spend a lot of nights in hotels, and it's going to be pretty expensive to spend that many nights in hotels, But we were, just calculating big picture stuff, and we determined that it was something we were going to have to do. So I pack up the pod outside accordingly. And then I talked to the realtor, and she said, no, move back into your house after escrow opens. And so now I have to rethink how I've done the pod, which things we want to keep. We still want to keep as little as possible here, but probably a little bit more if we're going to be spending up to 30 days in that house, So these kind of things are very complicated, challenging for me anyway, because I don't have any experience doing this sort of things, and my intuition regarding these kind of things is not very reliable. I need experience to know what I'm doing. So anyway, but I think overall it's all coming out pretty well. It's like things are moving along. We've got a lot of key components already completed. We've already spent most of the money we have to spend on like the house to get it ready to sell, which is nice. There's a lot of expenses there, And you got to pay this guy to do that, and that guy to do this, and this guy to do that, and etc. We got to save a little bit of money today by finding the key to the front door, so we didn't have to get a locksmith. So anyway, this DoubleTree Inn has been fine, but we're ready to get out of here, so we're changing hotels tomorrow. And part of what I'll be doing as we proceed through this next month and a half is make a bit of a video log of this process, which it will include like basically a short review of each of the hotels we stay at, because we're going to be staying at a number of them, I think. The first one we stayed at was called Le Méridien. We liked it better than this hotel, but it also had this bullshit. Only valet parking. It cost $27. And yes, I can park my own car, which I did.
Yeah.
And it still cost $27 a day to park at this hotel that you're staying at. Right. Number two, the internet cost $11 a day. Those two things are horrible. Other than those two things, we really like the hotel a lot.
Yeah.
It's like brand new, you know. So I guess that's how they charge more, because they are nicer without appearing to charge more. That's how they get you. Nerding out on your new artistic endeavor, leather mask. You're making a leather mask? Are you making a leather mask its insecurities? You've made 5. Well, that's 4 more than 1. No doubt about that. Hang on, I'll take a pic and text it to Rachel. Good idea. Hi, Winston's mom.
Hi, Winston's mom.
Welcome. Join us in this exciting live stream in which we discuss the thrilling TE adventures of real estate. Boy, nothing could be more exciting.
No.
Like scheduling things. Having people go into your house and paint it. Gosh, the excitement never ended. Still hasn't ended.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what has changed is everything feels better, resolved, emotionally comfortable and stuff since my mom died. It was really a relief, And it was really it was really convenient, frankly.
Yeah.
Really convenient.
Wow, that's so cool.
Let's see. Wow. That is cool. That's like something you see in a movie that's got kind of a goth edge to a Victorian costume party or something.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. That's pretty rad.
It is, and it matches your tattoo so nicely.
Nobody will recognize you in that. And I was like, who was that masked person? Nobody will be able to answer.
It looks great. That's leather?
It's pleather.
It's leather?
Mm-hmm. Pleather is like leather, but more pleasurable. Yeah, that blue is killer. Love that color. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
I mean, they look like something a movie costume designer would make.
Yeah, it does. Like, there's this movie about, who was that, like, famous lover?
Eric Strauss?
Yes.
Cyrano de Bergerac?
Casanova.
Casanova.
There's a movie about him and, like, a masquerade ball going on. Yes, Casanova, Winston Mondale, yes. Thank you.
My next choice would have been Don Juan. After that, Julio Iglesias.
Julio Iglesias, yes.
You soaked in water, molded it, dyed it, then finished it. Meow meow. You soaked in water, molded it, dyed it, then finished it. Meow meow.
True, Zorro did wear a mask.
So, I have a video which I'll be putting up sometime probably this evening, which gives a bit of a look into our staged house. I find it extremely ridiculous to go into, to look at even. If you happen to see a short I put up earlier called "Only Stagers Use Bookshelves Like This," the one thing that what are they thinking is this thing where they stack 3 books on top of each other on a bookshelf rather than standing them on their bottoms like you're supposed to, right? Nobody uses bookshelves like that.
Okay, it did make me think of one person who. But they have cleaning ladies, so like I feel like they never touch the books. Like it was just this family that I knew.
Oh. Well, maybe they bought the house like that, and they said we want to keep all this stuff, this fake stuff.
Maybe.
They are real books. At least the one I looked in was. Yeah, well, I am impressed with by and large their work. Like, one thing they did is they added a lot of mirrors, I noticed. It does seem to make the place seem more spacious. They put like a bed in every bedroom, and it's all pretty minimalist, you know. It's like there's one thing here, one thing there, you know. You got all this shelf space, and they put a little bowl in the middle of one of the shelves. That kind of shit. You're making a cheesecake. Does that count as eating cheese? Yes, it does. Absolutely.
It does. Cheesecake, definitely.
For sure.
It's made out of cheese.
And cake.
And cake, yes.
Some people call it the cheese of cakes. Some people call it the cake of cheeses.
Mm-hmm.
Both are right. So, currently, Washington's up by a touchdown. and they are getting the ball back. Texas has 2 timeouts, and there's less than 2 minutes left. So Texas needs to either get a 3 and out or a turnover, or they're going to lose this game. Which is good, in my opinion, because I'm rooting for Washington. Lol WM, TBH. I use a wad of towels to start, then put in contacts and use my own face. Repeat, repeat. It's like, if you didn't know the context, you really wonder what you were talking about there. Like, if that's all the part of the conversation you had, to be honest, I use a wad of towels to start, then put in contacts and use my own face. Repeat, repeat. What could she possibly be talking about? You know, like, it would be extremely confusing.
Yes, I wouldn't know. How did you learn to work with leather, Lou?
She was born on a farm with 100 head of cattle under her bed.
Under her bed?
Under her bed.
Wow.
They was always shedding their skins, as cows do, you know. That's where we get leather from. We just collect the shedded cow skins. And back then, as a little girl, she said, I want to make a whole city full of leather people. And she did. And ever since, she's been a leather master.
Wow.
Many people have mistaken her title leather master to mean she's some kind of dominatrix. No. She's just a real old-fashioned Victorian era leather worker.
Yes.
The only difference between her and Leathery Jane, Queen Victoria's personal leather maker, is that Lou desperately wants to go on Naked and Afraid. Well, as just a kid, I got it in my mind to make a journal. Over the last 25 to 30 years, I dip back in for a while. I rotate crafts. Craft rotation. It's the crop rotation of creatives. And so that your creative energies don't sputter out from having consumed all the fertilizer in the dirt. So you have to change to a different field, different crop for a while.
Yeah.
I guess my art form right now is basically, I don't really have one. I'm doing this house stuff, but I did make the decision tonight to begin to document this process, to you know, show the staged house, to provide updates as we change hotels and stuff, and as news comes in, etc. Probably a medium number of fairly short videos, possibly even shorts. Washington retrieved the ball. That should be the end of the game, but it's not quite technically, because with 1:40 and 2 timeouts left, Texas could still get a 3 and out, use their timeouts to get the ball back. Let's see. Erica, you're looking like Schopenhauer. Hoping all is well. I actually have no idea what Schopenhauer looks like. But I apparently extremely handsome guy. I came for any general sarcastic wisdom. I came for general sarcastic wisdom. Any takers? Missy Ann Davenport. General sarcastic wisdom. Well, I don't. What makes wisdom sarcastic? That's not normally an adjective I think would go with wisdom. Sarcastic wisdom? What do you mean things that really aren't wise but presented as wisdom? I mean, I'm normally good at coming up with ideas, so I'm surprised I'm struggling here, but not really sure what to think of. Sarcastic wisdom. If you want to be sarcastic and wise at the same time, then make your sarcasm sarcastic about something unwise. Would that be an example of sarcastic wisdom? Or am I playing equivocation fallacy? Quippy wisdom. Well, I had a nice quip the other day when Boba Fett was quoting some ancient Greek philosopher who was saying, philosophers do the most good for the least reward. And I said, anyone who thinks philosophers do the most good has never met cleaning ladies. That was pretty quippy. It was a good quip. There's this receiver currently playing. He's a receiver for either Washington or Texas. His name's Westover. He's a Washington receiver, Westover. Anyway, I was explaining to Rachel that actually the Westover family was part of the Donner Party, but that they survived because nobody wanted to eat the Westovers. Wisdom has to be sarcastic. Isn't a staged house a two-dimensional prop not intended to do anything but create circumstance? I mean, a staged house is designed to make people want to buy your house more or be willing to pay more money for it. So what they do is from what, I really didn't understand the concepts of it even, because it's like, well, why would anybody buy a house based on fake furniture they're not going to get to keep, But Rachel explained that basically staging a house, like, they put this dumbass little tea set on this one counter, right? And Rachel used that as an example. She said, people come into the house and they see that dumbass tea set and they go, oh, I can put my dumbass tea set there. So I guess that's the idea behind it. But, it's a super boring house because there's no TVs in it. It's like, what if you were to move into that house with the staging? What would you watch when you sat down on your couch? Just watch the wall? That's not going to be fun. So anyway, once we open escrow, though, we will move our TV back in there and just keep like 2 folding chairs in that TV and tough it out for the duration of escrow. I don't think you can offer wisdom sarcastically. You can offer something that's not wisdom, and be sarcastic, pretending that it's wisdom or something, but if it's genuine wisdom, then I'm not quite sure where the sarcasm would come from. Like if you say, like, "Oh yeah, that's a really good idea," then it's either not sarcastic or it's not wise, right? They kind of contradict each other. Hi, CJ. CJ O'Connell, amazing seeing you here, feeling debased lately. What do you mean based? Tell me your truth on this oasis of cheese. She's a lovely woman. I should try to give her less grief. Her and Pa both. Yeah, do your best to do that before they die. After they die, you will have some regrets. If you're anything like me, you'll definitely have some regrets. But I do feel good. I feel free. I feel good. I feel safe. I feel emotionally stable. It's like I feel as good, the best I felt in a while. We've gotten far enough along in this process that, like, a lot of things are stabilized. A lot of uncertainties are resolved, which makes me feel more comfortable, And I guess it kind of struck me this evening that, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty okay. Everything's fine. We're doing good, Not perfect. I made some mistakes here, and, I'm kind of mad at myself for paying the handyman before he was finished with his job, because he didn't finish it. He left the hardest part, basically, because you have to custom size. You have to cut these things so non-standard size, and then the light bulbs are deprecated size as well, so you have to order them from the internet. But emotional stability is always dope. I mean, I guess you could argue that, like, really exciting things or new love or something like that is emotionally destabilizing, but also dope. So, but you didn't say emotional instability is never dope, so I guess there's nothing to correct. Can't you just freeze them in carbonite forever? You can, but then you have to hang them on Jabba the Hutt's wall. And you don't want your parents to have to hang on Jabba the Hutt's wall, do you?
No.
No. I want you guys to know that seeing you are still together is comforting for me. Thank you. Well, Missy Ann Davenport, you're going to continue seeing that forever. Rachel and I have what I can really realistically only call a shockingly good relationship that is, from whatever else I can tell, apparently quite rare. That most people don't have what we have.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I'm romantic or something. I'm not. I'm not a romantic guy.
I mean,
But Rachel and I seem to genuinely have something pretty special.
yeah, we do.
Oh, right, I turned off the TV. It's, we have a super easy relationship. There's very, very little conflict. And and there's very high comfort with each other. In other words, we don't rub on each other. It seems like.
Yes.
We can spend a lot of time together without getting sick of each other.
Yeah.
Okay, well, not that kind of rubbing on each other. Yeah, well, what I mean is, I've been in relationships before where the two people end up spending less and less time together as they get more and more comfortable with the fact that they don't have to, and they don't really like each other that much.
Mm-hmm.
Called Eric and basically every other relationship he's ever had.
Well, Rachel and every other relationship's in it in too.
So, she's an INFJ. And ENTPs and INFJs may or may not be the perfect typological match. It's hard to say. There's a lot of particulars that go into playing something like that. But Rachel and I are the perfect match, and typologically there's no conflict. Like, attentionally, our habits, preferences, etc. are complementary to each other across the board. Our weaknesses are complementary too, which is to say, neither of us wants to critique on S grounds because we expect to not be critiqued on S grounds. And that's for both sides of the S, SI and SE. So it means that we spend very little time feeling attacked at all by the other person.
Yeah.
Really no time, I think, feeling attacked,
No.
essentially.
No, I don't feel. I don't ever feel attacked.
So I don't believe in duels being ideal. Um, I don't think that I can generalize from our relationship that this intertype is preferable to duels. Rachel and I aren't just typologically matched the way we are. We have a lot of other things that match up too, you know? Um, a lot of life experiences that match up in certain ways. And and it's like prior to prior to moving back to my dad's house to help with my mom, I don't think I would have resonated as much with Rachel and her situation with her family in New York. But those last 3 years from my dad really made me have a comparable kind of experience, at least to sort of empathize or sympathize more or get more where Rachel was coming from and what she was dealing with. It's like my dad was great and did wonderful, was a wonderful person, etc. But those last couple years were pretty tough. Um, he was not intentionally configured to deal with end of life issues well, or I guess you could say, well, from a spiritual, emotional wholeness kind of way. Maybe well financially or well, logistically or something, but he couldn't ever quite seem to grasp what was happening. So there's that. Okay, let's see here. The key to any relationship is being adaptable and supporting. It's hard to do when one always thinks they are right or in need. Yeah. The second part there is just, I guess the first part's a subset of the second part, you know. I've been in relationships where the other person was constantly in need, you know. I've been in relationships where the other person was always trying to control the narrative. I've even been that guy, and maybe like in my first marriage, the one who was trying to always dictate the narrative, which is really what you mean by be right, you know. But there's certainly none of that in this relationship. Our conversation earlier today, I was wrong about something else again. I say, like, every time I disagree with Rachel, she's right. Just about every single time. Do you remember what it was we were talking about this morning?
It feels like it was like something like about a color, something. I don't know. It was something like that. It wasn't really like.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember.
It's like Eric has terrible ideas sometimes that aren't like wicked, but just bad ideas. So we were supposed to meet with Delilah today to do a little Christmas thing, but we ended up putting it off. But we saw her briefly. Anyway, yesterday I'm like, okay, so we definitely got to check out of this hotel this morning, and then we're gonna have to figure out what we're going to do in the time between then and when we check in the new hotel, and where we're going to meet Delilah, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized, okay, check out Friday, Eric. You're going to spend the same number of nights in a hotel. This is a terrible morning to check out. Check out Friday morning. But it didn't occur to me until like maybe an hour after I told Rachel that was our plan. And then I said, maybe I should just extend our stay for one more day tonight. And I suspect that a lot of that process of me realizing my plan was dumb was attained by Rachel, Rachel's subtle eye and lip movements. didn't say anything, but you know. Study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible. Richard Feynman. You're only giving advice to ENTPs, Richard Feynman. Like everybody else in history, you're just projecting your own paradigm on everybody. I mean, I never debate with Rachel about anything.
No, I mean, no, we definitely don't.
Mm-mm. You know, it's like there's no contentiousness at all. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and she just tells me, and I learn I'm wrong again.
And then I take responsibility when I'm wrong too.
Yeah, she does too. Yeah, but she's much too hard on herself for being wrong because
Hey, I don't like.
when she's wrong, she still made the right intuitive leap based on the information available, and you can't expect somebody to get it right.
Yeah.
Just do it right.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, well, Mac Daddy, we're hopefully stuck in a hotel room only until January 15th-ish. Our realtor seems pretty confident she's going to have us opened escrow by January 15th. So, if that's the case, once escrow opens, we move back into the house for 30 days at most. In an ideal world, we get a cash offer and we can do a 14-day escrow. If there's no banks involved, you can do 14-day escrow. My favorite Feynman quote is, "If I could explain it to you, it wouldn't be worthy of the Nobel Prize." Except it should really be like if I could explain it to you, it wouldn't be worthy of the Nobel Prize.
Mhm.
Except she doesn't listen to hours of my ranting. I seem to think that, like, how I live stream is how I interact with Rachel. Rachel and I don't engage like that at all. People come here with a lot of wrong statements that draw out from me corrections, which the corrected people think of as me being contentious or debatey. But Rachel's not being provocative like that. So, you know.
No, I learned pretty quickly that it just doesn't help to be like that.
Because I'm genuinely interested in truth, justice, correctness. I'm not interested in appearing true, just, and correct. Although I may also be interested in that. It comes after a genuine interest in truth, justice, and correctness.
Yeah.
She does what? Sometimes disagree with me? Well, I mean, like every time she disagrees with me, she's right. So, just about. It's crazy. I've never met anybody so good at pegging me for being wrong when I'm wrong. It's like, it's not that I'm wrong very often, it's that she catches it every time.
And I don't do it on purpose. It's not like I'm like like seeking out like
No, you're
our
doing me
sympathy.
a favor by helping me be less wrong by correcting me. I've never objected to being corrected by
No,
anybody, you
no,
know?
yeah, it's true.
I like being corrected because then I won't make that mistake again.
Mm-hmm.
That applies to men too. I have no problem being corrected. The problem is, most of the time, maybe even almost always, the people trying to correct me aren't correct. Because there's a lot more interest in correcting Eric, aka take him down a notch, than there is actual opportunity to correct Eric because I'm pretty right most of the time. I challenge you to a debate on a topic I care about. I accept your challenge. I don't know. I can't keep up. Brain mush right now.
Brain mush.
I'm sorry you have brain mush. Is it fatal? You make these things up in your head sometimes. Which things? Ideas, thoughts, meanings, words, feelings, impressions, perceptions. Which things? On those grounds, I think it's healthy to be involved with friends or significant others that challenge us, for they know us best. Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's unlikely to have any relationship in which you're not challenged. It's just a matter of in which ways you're
Yeah,
challenged.
right, exactly.
Like, I want to be. What Rachel does is not so much challenge me as by being the way she is, she makes me be better. Because she only likes stuff that's actually really good, and she doesn't like stuff that's not good. So for me to for me to perform on her standards, I have to be better, and I like that. One thing that's happened since I started dating Rachel is I've begun repeating myself less.
That's a very good thing.
And I do a better job of expressing the concept in full and then just stopping rather than restating it in different ways all the time. But you know, I'm still an NE-DOM. I still end up invariably rolling forward into the next ideational segue from whatever it is I'm talking about. So laconic. She does. She's like the Scottie Pippen of
Thanks.
relationship partners.
Thanks.
She makes all the players around her better and is underestimated by everybody.
Miss Ann Davenport, about ENFPs. So,
What did she say?
where was it exactly? There it is.
Rachel, as an INFJ, do you find ENFPs attractive, then disappointing? Take your time asking for a friend.
Um, The ENFP that I know is my dad, and
Have you ever dated an ENFP?
not that I know of.
Me neither.
Yeah, so but so I don't always like using socionics as an example, but I do find that some of the things that they say about an ENFP INFJ relationship is true, in which they say that
what
they're
kind is it called?
Extinguisher.
Extinguisher.
Yeah. So they're extinguisher or they're contrarian. So apparently, in extinguishing types, it's like I could be really excited about something and then want to tell my dad, and then him having a totally different reaction, or just shutting it down. Like, not even like.
Do you do the same to him?
I think I do.
So it's mutual wet blankets.
Yeah.
Reciprocal, I should have said. Reciprocating wet blankets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna smoke this cigarette, and I never did go get more cigarettes.
Oh, you didn't?
So, but the sun lounge right there. I'll be right back.
Okay.
There, you can hold down the pole for a few minutes. Thank you. I appreciate it. The mouse is right there. Don't sit on it.
Ah. Thank you.
And remember, the TV is probably easier to read.
Oh, true. It's a little bit easier to read. It makes me feel like I need glasses. But I think that ENFPs and INFJs get along pretty well, especially as friends. Yeah, so I think yeah. Show Media asks, would you agree INFJs are less prone to getting tattoos? That's probably true. I don't have any tattoos. There was nothing I've thought about tattoos before. I've thought about getting one before, but I never followed through on it. And I think it's because it's so permanent. Like, I do have this like irrational fear of getting a tattoo and then totally disliking it and never getting rid of it. So yeah, right. Show media. Yeah, the permanent component thing is a future fear, I think. Yeah. I don't think Frank James has any tattoos. I'm not sure if Pukoki has any. I'm not sure if Eric Thor has any. about Mr. Bobby? Frank James has a butterfly tattoo in his back. He's got his tramp stamp. Oh, that's true, Ludife, of course. How could I have many. So Ludife says, I have many. I got the first 3, all small and subtle, at 18 to 20. I got the last 15 or so from 43 to 47, with none between 20 and 43. They're all been very, very intentional. Yeah, there is. When I was thinking about getting a tattoo, it was very intentional. It was after a rough patch. Sometimes it would be, I would be happy and I would be like, oh, you know what I want to get? A star and a moon behind my ear. Like, and then for a little while I wanted a blue lotus flower because I had just been hospitalized and I went through like a big change, and I thought the blue lotus would be like a nice reminder of like things that I have been through, but ultimately I just never went through with it. I don't. My dad is very against tattoos. Well, see, show media. Lou DeFay is an INFJ and she has a lot of tattoos. So, thanks, Lou DeFay. Yeah, like, I got the idea from a Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo. They had this little moon and this little star like right next to each other, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so cute right behind my ear. And I really thought about doing it for a very long time, but again, like, just the follow through there was like I always was very, very, I needed to go to a place that would absolutely listen to me, like, that would absolutely do it the way that I wanted it done. And I never knew of a place that I knew of someone else that had a tattoo that I liked, so have a good reputation and go there. So I just I think I'm a little afraid of the pain too. Like, I don't know how painful it actually is. I hear varying things. Oh, so I'm kind of a wimp. Fly Guy gave you a tattoo, Carrot? What kind of tattoo? It depends on where you're being stabbed. See, I always thought of places that might hurt. So, like, behind my ear, like there. And then, by my ankle, like behind my ankle. And I always wanted a lightning bolt on my middle finger, but people say that hand tattoos hurt. I always wanted to, I don't know why I never asked Lou. Yeah, Carrot, they are, especially if they're tiny. Behind the ear and ankle tattoos are cute. Lou DeFay has hand tattoos, and I don't know why I never asked her how, if they hurt. I probably didn't want to know the answer, truthfully. I didn't want to know if they hurt. The fleshy, squishy part, ticklish parts hurt the most. Hands aren't so bad, I find, says Fly Guy. Oh, Lutefe makes a good point. I didn't think the knuckle ones hurt at all. So small and so fast. That's so interesting. Before you, other people would say that the hand is the like a very sensitive part. So I was like, well, but yeah, I always wanted like a yellow lightning bolt on my middle finger. Palm tattoo is something that I thought about as well, getting. But then I saw it on someone and I was like, again, I think it might hurt. So I chickened out. Show me asks, do you or Eric drool at all when you sleep? So when I am out, like out and sick, I'll drool. Because then I'm not breathing through my nose. Eric tends to drool. He's a deep sleeper. Winston's mom says, my daughter's first tattoo was on her foot. She said it didn't hurt and it seemed like she was disappointed it didn't hurt. Tate did a map of Florida. Oh. Fly Guy says you can always test the pain with a needle. Oh. Luteface says, yeah, probably Fly Guy. Probably also wouldn't stay looking good. Many artists won't do it because their work looks bad a few years in. That's a good point. Show Media says, I've drooled maybe 3 or 4 times in my life, perhaps. It felt cool when I did. I'm always like, oh my gosh, I'm sleeping with my mouth open. And then like wipe it away. Yeah, like, yes, exactly, Show Media. Homer Simpson drool. Yeah, it is like that for me when I, like, wake up from sleep and am drooling. Kojitsu says, Davenport, Missy Ann Davenport, I might be an SE tool user, but I still haven't figured out my type. Been using Eric's polar descriptions to rule things out. I use polar to rule things out too. I think once you get the polar down, it's easy to type, but you have to know what the polar looks like first in order for you to really like type correctly. Lutefe says that last comment was about tattoos on palms, FY. Something about the skin or circulation or science science. The ink doesn't stay inside the mouth, too. I knew an actress who had a palm. So I had thought about a palm tattoo for some reason. Sometime I did at one point, and then I saw it on this actress, Jemima Kirk, and she has a heart on her palm, I believe, and maybe an eye. And I was just like, oh no, I don't like it. I didn't like it enough on the palm to even try. Mr. Bobby, I believe that there probably is another me out there with a bunch of tattoos. Like in the universe. Like I think there's like another universe with me in it that's like totally opposite. Has like all these tattoos and like has blonde hair, blue eyes. Maybe still looks like me. But like, so like, is an INFJ, or maybe she's an ESTP. Yeah, lemon melon. In that universe. I'm an ESTP. Oh my god. Yeah, exactly, Jinx. We were both thinking the same thing. I believe that INFJs are called idealists in general. Which makes sense because we do idealize things. And I do think that a lot of the times that I've idealized something, my expectations are too high for reality. And that can really bring an INFJ down when the expectations don't meet reality. Not only can it bring an INFJ down, but it can like totally like turn them into rage too. Like say like you have like plans with a friend and they cancel on you for like the third time. Like the INFJ is gonna be like what the fuck? Like it's not easy for me to make plans in the first place and set aside time for you, and you're flaking out on me for like the third time. Like you are definitely looking to get ghosted for a while. Even if you're friends with an INFJ. How'd it go?
Fine. I got cigarettes.
Oh, good.
I also filled the car with gas and went to the Shell station.
Oh, nice.
And I was shocked by the price of their cigarettes. It cost me over $25 for 2 packs of cigarettes. Normally it should be like 22, 21. But they had expensive cigarettes there.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. I think I'll survive. So while I was out there, also I made a little addition to the travel log thing saying here we were at the DoubleTree for the last night. I'm going to do a little bit of that too. Thursday, December 29th. We're live streaming currently here at the DoubleTree. And Rachel, on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, how many stars do you give this hotel? You can give tenths of a star.
Maybe like an 8?
That's above 5. We're going
Oh,
1 to 5
5
stars.
One to five stars. That's even less numbers. Okay, so.
But you can use tenths of a star. So you can go 1.2 if you wanted to, for example.
Okay, so like maybe like 2.5.
See, I was gonna say 3.6.
Okay.
3.7.
Okay, so I'm being a little rough.
It was because I said 1.2, and that dragged down your score. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Because I was thinking more of an 8, and that's closer to 3.
That would be a 4, right?
Yeah, right, that would be a 4.
But the thing is, what makes me give this hotel a 3.8, the number one factor is that the elevators, one of the 2 elevators has been broken the whole time we've been here. And it's a busy time of year. The hotel is pretty packed. So I've had a lot of opportunity to enjoy waiting for the elevator.
Oh, that's.
And then, you know, they just have this sign, sorry for any inconvenience. Well, we've been here 4 nights now. Fix the fucking elevator.
Yes.
I should moon. We're not going to moon. But we appreciate the request.
Yeah.
I don't think I have an abnormally high pain tolerance. I may be a little skilled in not being particularly embodied. I have a very low pain threshold. Well, I don't know. There's pain threshold and then there's pain tolerance, right? I'm not sure if I experience pain. Like, if you could set a universal neutral experience of pain, some people wouldn't notice it at all and some people would notice it at a very small amount, right? I'm not sure about where I am on that. It would be really hard to evaluate your own thing on that. But I do know this. I don't tolerate being in pain well. I'm going to make this one bigger.
There you go.
It's silly, really. I still think about a man that I feel like I was really in love with that I did it for maybe 6 months, 5 years ago, and he was an ISFP and I am an ENFP. Let's see. ISFP, ENFP is the equivalent of ISTP, ENTP. I mean, that's not a relationship that would ever last.
Supervisor?
Yeah, it's a supervisor relationship. Chances are he felt much more stressed out by the relationship than you did. Let's see, what was anxiety inducing? Oh, that was Lou who said that. I was like, while you were gone, Rachel made everyone a moderator, and then she mooned us, and then we had 1,000 people watching. You missed so much. It sounds like I did miss a lot. Wow.
Sounds like I missed a lot too.
Yeah. You must have been in a fugue state.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I missed a lot. Kojitsu. We'll go back to where I left. Wow, I really missed a lot. You guys have been going nuts here in the chat. Gotta remember this part. How's the breakfast at the hotel? Do they serve it there? I ate breakfast here one morning. It was fine. It was just whatever, overpriced, you know. It's not free. This hotel we're staying at the next 4 nights, though, is we got a really good deal. You know, if you're looking for a hotel in LA, you have practically infinite choices. Hey, I have my pillows structured the same way as you do, Eric. Well, Mr. Robbie, that makes us pillow buddies. I used to wake up weird hours to catch those games. The Bulls run, late 90s, amazing. Yeah, they were a pretty badass team. We're in the same position, lying in bed. Well, that makes us lying buddies. Lying in bed, laying in bed like Eric and Bobby did. I have taken the attitudinal psyche test. Peter and I went down that rabbit hole. I can send you my results if I still have them. It turns out your attitude was bad. You need an enema too? Okay. Well, bend over, I'll give you an enema. Okay. I don't know what that is though, huh? I think my AP results were way wrong. How so? The character's hair is totally wrong. Long hair is a terrible crime. Mr. Bobby asks, are you lying in bed as well, like I? Are all 3 of us lying in bed concurrently?
Wow. 4, right? 'Cause me too?
Well, you're not a dude, though.
Oh.
It's just dudes lying in bed together.
Oh,
in different
it's like
places.
a club.
It's like the least gay way for men to bond while lying in bed together. Right.
Alright, I'll let you have it.
Fly guy, though, is in a chair. So it's just me and Mr. Bobby, I guess.
Oh.
Meta cuddling. Would you say agree INFJs are less prone to getting tattoos? Rachel doesn't have any. Corey doesn't have any.
You know, I listed a bunch of people too, but then Lou was like, I have a bunch, so.
Yeah, you're an interesting character, Lou. You also had a lot of highly traumatic shit go down, and people go to their 4th slot function when that happens.
Yeah.
ENFPs can be difficult to be around for just about any flavor of introvert. Mike Zulu also has a bunch of tattoos. Is he an INFJ? Does he say he is?
Yeah.
No, both. I don't apologize. I enjoyed that brief foray into caps lock you provided us. I thought, it's about time someone caps locked us. I think that's an NI thing. Well, maybe they are not really INFJs. Well, I don't know about Mike Zulu.
I don't know about Mike Zulu either.
Frank James has a butterfly tattoo on his lower back. I bet he doesn't. I think that's a lesbian thing. Rachel, while host Eric is away, will you make Boba a moderator? I just love it when he butt bans someone. I don't want to get in trouble. You in trouble, but it's so much fun.
I didn't even see that.
Don't worry, Miss Mom. You can't get Rachel in trouble. I have many. I got the first 3 all small and settled at 18 to 20. I got the last 15 or so from 43 to 47, with none between 20 and 43. They've all been very, very intentional. Frank James's baby is Chinese tiger, therefore he will be a badass. Well,
It's probably true, actually.
That's the incredible power of Chinese astrology.
Yeah. Delilah's a tiger and she's a badass, so.
Oh, is she a tiger?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she does. That would be the creature, I would say.
Yeah, she's a tiger.
I think I got the WM and you got the. What does that say? And you got the VFLE left swap. I don't know what that means. And you got the VFLE left swap. I don't know what that means. I'm listening so intently, not intently enough, Missy Ann Davenport. Show Media says, well, the point is most INFJs I feel would stray away from it unless they are really sure about it personally, the part of themselves. If you leave ink and a needle around me, I will have tattoos. Well, thanks for that vote of confidence, Winston's mom. I'm not Winston's mom, Boba, but I'm going to say it anyway. You're welcome. Whereas I feel FI would be like, this is how I want to express myself and I'll tap myself. And everyone around me will too. Do you sneakily tattoo people in their sleep? You must be very gentle to not wake them up. Like more right away and knowing it as they want. I don't care, but lol. I can't grab onto those letters and remember them yet, but okay, why not? Lol. Fly Guy gave me a tat. Really? What's it a picture of? His dong? Mine had the bowl cut. Yours had the spiky, jagged hair. Well, Pet, you know I adore you, but a girl just wants to have fun. Have you heard of those tiny onion ring snacks called Funyuns? Depends on where you're being stabbed, says Fly Guy. Ha! J&J, what an unexpected source. What does that mean? Who's J&J? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get a tattoo in my armpits at Show Media. Depends on where you're being stabbed and with what, and the skill of the person doing it, and your own pain tolerance and sobriety. I thought Eric Thor was an INFP. You thought wrong. Can't you get AIDS from a tattoo needle? Well, you could, but you'd be better off getting it from gay sex. Behind the ear and ankle tats are cute. No, they're not. And Davenport. So did I? But if he is speaking socionics, is he INF? Yes. In socionics, he's INF little p. Lol. Hand tattoos are gangsta. Hand tattoos are poor ideas. Fleshy, squishy, ticklish parts hurt the most, I guess. Hands aren't so bad, I find. Well, I had my ball sack tattooed with to look just like my ball sack. So they went over it with flesh-colored ink, and they tattooed all of my whole ball sack in ball sack colored ink.
That's it.
It looks exactly the same.
You got lucky.
Well, they did a good job. Some people asked me, Eric, why bother then? And I said, because I'm tough. Do you or Eric drool at all when I drool? I just want to guess everyone's personality type. ISTJ. You can't always test the pain with the needle with no ink. I mean, it's always going to hurt to stab yourself with a needle. My daughter's first tattoo was on her foot. She said it didn't hurt, and it seemed like she was disappointed that it didn't hurt. They did a map of Florida, a map of Florida. Here you go on your foot is Florida. Do you guys poop? I do. Sometimes, usually, most of the time, always, constantly.
Yeah.
If someone gave you $1 million, would you get a Kanye West palm tattoo? Is it, you mean a picture of Kanye West on my palm? I mean, if I could then spend part of that $1 million to immediately have it removed.
Oh, I heard that's so painful too.
Many artists won't do it because their work looks bad in a few years in. Whether or not you drool when you sleep, it depends on how well you're breathing through your nose.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm breathing really well through my nose, then my mouth will stay closed while I sleep and I won't drool at all. But if I'm not breathing well through my nose, then I open my mouth to breathe better and then I drool. We must all be intuitive, don't you think? Is anyone here sensing type? Probably. Probably multiple people here are sensing types. Most people are. You just swallow it, of course. And now you wake up and you go, oh, oh, oh. And that's what you do. Coach Izzy says, Missy Ann Davenport, I might be an SE tool user, but I still haven't figured out my type been using Eric's polar descriptions to rule things out. If you're who I think you are, then we both know what type you are. That last comment was about tattoos on palms, FYI. Something about skin or circulation or science. The ink doesn't stay inside the mouth, too. Frank James is a rabbit. Show me, dear, are you Norwegian? Luda Faye, do you drink or get high before getting tatted? No, Middle Eastern. Oh, you mean, no, comma, Middle Eastern. Gotcha. At Show Media, why I thought that. Coach, do you think you know your personality group? Sentinel? Diplomat? Not usually, Show Media. I did take a small amount of edible before the one on my neck because I knew that would be intense. Simple. Just develop a clone and try out any look on them you don't want to try it on yourself. Well, not very nice to your clone. I remember there being a doppelganger project. They should bring that back. Make doppelgangers find each other. You're an ESTP in that universe. Jinx, says Lemon Melon. Missy Ann Davenport, I'd say diplomat fits best. I've often been a mediator in my friend groups getting to see past each other's misunderstandings. Well, you evidently have a propensity to look to someone considered to be an expert in deducing to the final answer, and that might give you some clue in itself. I think those things contradict each other, but that's fine. I'm going down now forward to the current time. Let's see here. Now that you spent more time with me, are you still as certain of your type? You ever open a can of evaporated milk only to find it still in liquid form? Good stuff, Jeff.
That
Sure.
is good.
Good stuff. I like that. That's a good joke. My most recent partner was an ENFP, and chemistry was unbelievable, magical. It was also chaotic and triggering and challenging for both of us. Where the heck are you guys? I was feeling weird. The 2 packs cost $15 random sheet. They normally don't cost that much. This place just had ridiculously overpriced cigarettes, but I had already said I wanted them. $25.60 or whatever it was. I was surprised. Well, I'm not going to go somewhere else. I'm already pumping gas out here at this gas station. I'm just going to get them.
I think that Ludafe is still INFJ.
Well, I've had some thoughts about Lou's
have
type
you?
that I've not been voicing.
Okay.
I think it's possible, but and the reason I haven't been voicing them is because I don't feel very clear
Okay.
either direction. But I will voice them anyway, which is I could conceive possibly of Lou DeFay being an ESTP who has gone through a lot of shit.
I've thought about that too.
And that's what makes her so much more emotionally intuitive than you'd expect an ESTP to be. But I could also see her as an INFJ who's gone through a whole lot of shit. And that's what makes her more brash in some regards, at least in her appearance perhaps, than you'd expect a normal INFJ to be. But she's not like that in her personality. So she's a tough one. She's beta quadra for sure, and she's one of those two types. She's either an ESTP or an INFJ. So there's the big thing that I've not been saying. There you have it. I wouldn't make any money doing that. I have done videos where I read like public domain literature out loud. I am good at reading out loud. And at reading novels. You know, I'm good at that thing, that skill. But it's time consuming. To do it really well, you've got to also do a certain amount of audio editing. And people don't pay for it. I've never seen Mike Zulu, but I'm assuming he's not. Yeah, well, see, this comment by Lou here is what is why I've never voiced this before. I still actually do think you're an INFJ. I mean, obviously, you're a lot more chatty than Rachel, which is a good reason to think, maybe she's an ESTP. But, Corey's more chatty than Rachel, too. Rachel's a particularly quiet INFJ. Oh, did I? Well, it depends when that was, right? I trust my typings from about a year ago, a year and a half ago, up through now, maybe 2 years ago, up through now. But I don't trust typings any older than that. I mean, when really dramatic shit happens to you, it's unavoidable that it shows up somewhere, right? Like me having those couple of months of disastrously bad FE after my dad killed himself. And making massive kind of mistakes in terms of what I say. Even though normally I don't make mistakes in what I say. There's one area where I don't make mistakes. Now, I'm not saying that trauma is always going to cause you to make mistakes, but what I'm saying is it does change who you normally are in some way, right? At least for some period of time. For me, the response to that particular trauma was I went from somebody who never says the wrong thing to somebody who always says the wrong thing. It seemed like, I'm very careful with how I say things, how I phrase things, my words in general. And I wasn't for a couple months there at all. I kept making mistakes. I kept feeling vulnerable, exposed. I kept having this conflicted relationship with expressing myself. And couldn't be me anymore, basically, for such time because of it. But then that passes and you revert to your normal self as you attain some stability and some kind of new equilibrium. Rachel and I are in a really weird spot right now because it feels like we just attained equilibrium in the transition process, which is odd, right? Because you're going from one equilibrium to another, our old life to our new life. But it really feels to me like today, yesterday, the last few days, we've attained equilibrium in this process of being around here, selling a house and stuff that we lacked prior. And what it required was for us to have clarity about the fact that we are not going to be able to live in the house once it's staged, rather than uncertainty. We don't do well with uncertainty. And we don't do well with decisions being like they were then, where it's like we were operating under the assumption we were going to continue living there. It was getting increasingly more difficult, but we weren't making a decision to do something else.
Yeah, I didn't even know what else to do.
Yeah.
Not really.
So, it turns out it's really, ultimately, I think, not going to be that expensive to do this because these first few nights that we spent in the hotel, we just sort of went to the hotel close to us and walked in and said we'd like to stay here tonight. We didn't really do
Yeah.
any shopping around or anything. But the next 4 nights we got a really good price on, especially considering it's the holidays, and it's a motel that's 4 minutes away from where Delilah lives, so that's kind of convenient. How long did it take for one to revert back to their true identity after a shaky event? I mean, I think it really depends on how traumatic the event is and when it occurs in your life, and for how sustained the duration of the trauma is. There's trauma that's big and one-time event. There's trauma that's repeated events, maybe not as big, but repeated over time, over and over again. There's trauma that's intentional, which we call abuse, and trauma that's bad luck, which we call act of God. And there's childhood trauma, and then there's adulthood trauma. And all of those things play huge factors into how one responds and reacts and becomes after and through trauma. So like the kind of trauma that we had with my dad was one-time big trauma that took a while to process. It was not intentional trauma. In other words, my dad wasn't traumatizing us. He was killing himself. Traumatizing us was a predictable, foreseeable, but not intentional consequence of his behavior. So that makes a big difference. If he was intentionally abusing us in some ways, for periods of time, that kind of trauma would be more difficult, or would have a more complicated resolution, you know? And it's also the case that the way that my dad killed himself became, which is to say he's 84, he has lost his sight, hearing, in other words, he's got a lot of very good reasons to end his life, and he's not ending it prematurely at all, right? Is a much easier thing to come to terms with than, say, a 35-year-old killing himself, you know? Well, the thing here, what you say there, off. Oh, Flamo. Oh, Flamo. Why do people keep saying to just be yourself without acknowledging that it'll only work for desirable people? Well, people who say just be yourself are really saying a specific kind of possible social failure can be avoided by authenticity. In other words, there are some people in the world who are trying too hard to act like they think other people want them to act. And because they're doing that, that's what makes them not desirable, quote unquote, to experience. But the idea that you should just be yourself is specifically an FI critique of FE people. FE people would say, be cool, be a team player. Don't just be yourself. Don't be selfish and be all focused on what you want and who you authentically are. Be cool, be a team player. That's the alternative to just be yourself. Both of them are oppressive in the sense that they're simply projections of those people's own paradigms, right? But That's what cognitive function. That's what cognitive functions resolves. If it becomes standard operating knowledge, right? Is it resolves that exact phenomenon where everybody saying anything is really saying, be more like me. Only cognitive functions frees us from that. Because then I can say, look, when evaluating explanations about cognitive functions, be more like me, because the way my attentional configuration is well suited to the matter of explaining intellectual stuff. Much more well suited than uh, other kinds of configurations potentially. So in that regard, I may still be saying be more like me, but I'm clarifying that the only reason you should be more like me is in this situation and contextually because being like me for this particular kind of situation is optimal. You're not going to ever actually be more like me in that regard, but what I'm really then trying to say is delegate this kind of matter to me rather than trying to figure it out yourself and just believe what I tell you. Which is, you obviously people do whatever the fuck they want, but that's if you get down to the most illocutionary level. Lou, I wish you should not have corrected that. You should have just left it like that. Then it's a hilarious joke. I think I think he's got more skill in using his words than I am. It's a fantastic sentence. Just left it just like that. I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not. Kurt Cobain. Well, is it even possible to be loved for who you're not? Is that really love?
That's because he was loved for what he wasn't, which was like this idea that Courtney had in her head of what Kurt should be like.
I mean, the thing is, I'm FI polar. And we talk a lot about FI linking to authenticity. But personally, and obviously I'm not going to be very good at evaluating this, but I I believe myself to be authentic. It's like I may be FE third, but I don't feel like I'm just putting on a show for you. I feel like I'm just being me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make about that linkage between FI and authenticity. I don't doubt that in some connotation of the word authenticity, the linkage is appropriately made, but well, I mean, here's an interesting observation that Rachel and I were discussing in the car today. She quoted me from when I was a very small child. Apparently, when I was a very small child, I was in the family room watching TV with my parents. They were watching some war documentary on PBS or something. I was playing with my blocks. And I said, "This program is not appropriate for little boys." And I took my toys and I went in the other room. And it occurred to me today, that's very FI polar. What I really probably meant, if I had intentionally the capacity to say it, was, this violence makes me feel bad. Witnessing this violence is traumatizing me. Instead, my feelings don't come into play at all, right? This program is not appropriate for little boys. I'm not even in the sentence, right? It's little boys in general, of which I'm part of that set. I'm not even in the sentence. That's F.I. Polar at 4 years old or whatever. Already displaying that when something makes me feel bad, I'm going to interpret it as, this program is not appropriate for little boys.
Yeah.
Presumably, if you had an FI tool user there, they would say, this show makes me sad, or I don't like to see this, or something like that, right? Something involving themselves. My response to it had no mention of me in it at all.
No, it didn't.
Well, I mean, Boba Fett, INFJs are not much better at their FI than ENTPs. So when you say everyone's a bit FI polar, that's true of you and me and Rachel, but not everyone. I use FI sometimes, so I would just boo it. I'd just be like, boo, boo, to the show you're watching. That seems more of an FE thing, because it's like you're trying to tell the thing you're watching you're bad. But yeah, like INFJ FI is almost as bad as the ENTP FI because they don't, INFJs don't have conscious subjective knowledge function. So it's like it exacerbates their 6-slot FI. I guess if it's FE if your goal is to make them feel bad. It's FI if it's just sort of this involuntary wailing of despair. Fairies have to be one thing or the other because being so small, they unfortunately have room for one feeling only at a time. A materialization of conscience of the severe superego within us, in which the punitive agency of our childhood finds residual expression. Sigmund Freud. Oh, Freud. You so schmoid. Sigmund Freud has hemorrhoids. Sigmund Freud has hemorrhoids. That's how the children would tease him when he was a boy. That was before he became the neighborhood cocaine dealer. Then he was everybody's most popular guy.
Yeah.
Mr. Bobby, lol, no man, thanks, I appreciate it, haha, I love that movie, and that last thing you said is a huge compliment, 100. Yeah, dude, no problem, CJ O'Connell, 100 trophy. Peep the film Persona, it's so good. With Ingmar Bergman? That sounds like an old-timey movie, CJ. Are you trying to get me to watch an old-timey movie? Kara always loved seeing Peter Pan quotes. Always. That's why she had them tattooed to the inside of her eyelids.
This like famous astrologer, Linda Goodman, used to like using Peter Pan metaphors to describe the zodiac types.
Really?
Yeah.
Taurus is a lot like Wendy.
Yeah, like that's exactly how it would go.
Now Cancer, on the other hand, he's like that alligator. I love Linda Goodman's Love Signs book.
Yeah,
It's
I
from
used to have that book.
it's from 1966 and it's really timeless. Okay. Does that mean, is that your way of saying it's really slow? Rachel's being truthful? That doesn't surprise me. Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. Oscar Wilde. It makes me think of challenges. Challenges I have in one of my relationships, you know. Diane Fossey, that's right. I have a lot of drama in my relationship with Diane Fossey.
Diane is a guy, right?
No, she's a woman who worked with chimpanzees back in the 70s in Africa.
I'm thinking of a different Fossey. And spelled differently too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the choreographer.
She had a lot of sex with primates. Diane Fossey, I think. That's my theory. That's why she kept hanging out with them all the time. She was a nymphomaniac. And once you go primate, you never go by mate. She would have ruined the social hierarchy. Isn't that what women do? Prime D. Right. Prime D. And they have tiny genitals? Impossible. Male chimpanzees have tiny genitals? From what I understand, other mammals, by and large, have larger testicles proportionally than humans and smaller members proportionally than humans. Okay, if in fact what's happened is they've had their genitals ripped off in battle, then their genitals are not tiny, they are amputated. It's the age of Aquarius. An Aquarian is somebody who's obsessed with aquariums. They're the sign most likely to buy an aquarium, to feature aquariums in a novel or play that they've written, or to repurpose an aquarium as a hat. Yes. Those are three things we know about the Aquarius type.
Wow. That's a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. So, tomorrow, Rachel and I are, our house is being shown tomorrow, which is nice.
Yeah, it is.
In advance of it even being listed, it's being shown. And also, uh, Rachel and I are meeting up with, or hanging out with Corey for a bit. At our house, which we need to not make a mess at. But I think what we'll probably do is hang out in the garage. Got a couple folding chairs. I might have to dig out another folding chair or something. But we got a card table in the garage, a couple folding chairs. We can smoke out there. Make no mess. If it's cold, we can close the garage door. Yeah.
Yeah.
The nurse basically starts cracking up. She's doing all the Effie and becomes bitter and resentful. Well, they kind of merge. It's like one of the first psychological horrors. Because it's very important. What matters most to humans is that women admire men. Yeah. You're not gonna get a woman if you're a weak man. You gotta have a deep voice, strong physique, like me, Jordan Peterson. He does paleo. Thanks, Kyojitsu. NWAT. What does NWAT mean? Jordan Benzos Peterson. Well, I don't understand why you would even bother getting addicted to benzos. They're not fun, really. They can be relaxing. Sort of. But it's more like they either put you to sleep, like Klonopin, or they just flatten you out, like Valium. It's not a fun drug, really. When you wake up in the morning, the naughtiness and evil passions with which you went to bed have been folded up small and placed at the bottom of your mind. And on the top, beautifully aired, are spread out your prettier thoughts, ready for you to put on. A good night's sleep does help. Would be an easier way to say that. Tithe. Tithe to you too.
Tithe.
Yes. Tithe. Not this, not that. A Buddhist meow. He's probably stressed out because he's a 60-year-old teacher who suddenly became incredibly popular in a hostile political sphere. Wouldn't stress me out. I'd be like, fuck yeah. Millions of people listening to me. About time, motherfuckers. What's taking you so long? That's what I would say. Yeah, but they don't really impact you at all. Post-date after the first 16 hours. Unlike speed, like Adderall stays with me a lot longer. I can feel it a lot longer in my system than I can feel Klonopin in my system, regardless of what the half-life is. I mean, I'm not disputing that what you're saying is factual, but what I'm telling you is that, like, I took Adderall today. I took 60 milligrams, and it was probably around 1 o'clock. I'm not going to sleep very well tonight, although I probably could sleep okay-ish if I took half a Klonopin. But let's say I don't, which I'm not going to, I don't think. I'll also not sleep well tomorrow night. I can still feel the effects of it. Whereas, if I take half a Klonopin tonight, and let's say I did not do speed, it would help me sleep tonight, but it would not help me sleep tomorrow night. Alright? So, I don't know. You tell me. Maybe I'm just speedy by nature, so yeah, that's true. Maybe I'm just sensitive to Addy. Although I've gotten less sensitive to it. Like, I've been taking it for so long now. It doesn't feel like I'm on 60 milligrams of speed today. We did get a fair amount of shit done, but I don't feel thwacked out at all. By the way, I'm actually not sure how I feel about Bjork anymore. Well, I think we all still feel exactly the same way about how she spells her name. If you're going to begin a word with BJ, you should end it right there. Words of wisdom, words of truth. Bjork, I think, is, as far as I can tell, delighted with Bjork.
I love imitations of Bjork. Imitations of Bjork make me laugh.
You know what makes me laugh?
What?
Janet, the realtor, always telling me what a good job she's doing.
That's so funny.
Working so hard for you? Yes, Janet, you're fine. You don't need to sell me on you anymore.
Yeah, Kristen Wiig does do a really good Bjork.
Kristen Wiig does a good everyone.
Yeah, she really does. She
Kristen Wiig does a great Liza Minnelli.
oh my gosh, such a good Liza Minnelli.
But I like her character on Secret Word.
Oh, that is so good when she's like the 40s actress.
She's like, yeah, the theater person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's always talking about, like, that reminds me of the time when I was in little old Shanghai, you know?
Yep.
And she always says the secret word.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It's such a simple concept for a joke, but it is hilarious, and they make it hilarious so many times. Yeah, because she's so good at changing the way that she ends up saying the word, you know?
Yes. Yeah, like she'll say it like long sometimes and stop herself.
Right. I know, you don't need to tell me, I know the rules. I'm not going to say the secret word. Potato. I might have to smoke a cigarette.
Okay.
When I get back, maybe we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
If you feel like it, yeah? Okay.
Sure, whatever. We'll see how we feel.
Okay, cool.
C.J. O'Connell, Kristen Wiig was kind of the last breed of like actually good SNL members. It's interesting you say that because
What about that lady in that commercial? She is funny.
oh yeah, Cecily Strong is funny, and I think she's still on SNL. She might not be, but I think she still is. Cecily Strong is funny. So YouTube suggested to me a video called "The Most Annoying People of 2022," and I thought it was funny. It was on Fox News website, so it's like, you know, kind of biased, but like they did say that Pete Davidson was was one of the most top 8 annoying people of 2022. Kanye was on that list of annoying people of 2022. Number 1 most annoying people of 2022, they said Meghan Markle and the prince formerly known as Harry. I agree with that. I think they were the most annoying people of 2022. I didn't see that docu-series that they did, Harry and Meghan, but yeah, Harkle is so annoying. They are so annoying. Like, I didn't watch any of the docu-series, so I can't actually say anything, but it has been getting a lot of criticism. You know, C.J. O'Connell, I don't know what's going on with SNL. Like, I don't know what... They say that, what's his name, Lorne Michaels is gonna quit, and then... I don't know if he is. They've had Kenan Thompson from Nickelodeon on SNL for years, and he is not funny. I do not laugh when Kenan Thompson is on screen. Flow State, I think a lot of people actually watched the Meghan and Harry docu-series to like see if they could gain sympathy towards them. But no one did like feel sorry for them. Mac Daddy says he did the burger skit thing that I thought was pretty funny. Yes, Kenan was actually, I did laugh when I was a kid and I watched Friday Snicket. I think it was on its Snick. Oh god, I can't remember the name of the show. The comedy show that Kenan Thompson was on. But honestly, I don't find him funny. So do you have... what other places have royalty still intact? Spain, I think, has royalty. Does France? I think SNL had, when it has a key player in it, like CJ was saying about Kristen Wiig being like a key SNL member, and she really like would elevate a skit, then it would be really funny. You also have to have an actor or a musician or a celebrity who's into humor as well to make the skit funny, because sometimes celebrities take themselves too seriously, or they just don't have a sense of humor, and then you have to work around that celebrity, and it could be very hard to get a funny skit. No, you're right, Fly Guy. Garfield doesn't like Mondays. I'm not a huge fan of Mondays either. Garfield does love lasagna, Carrot. You were right. See, I have a question though. I think that there should be a 3-day weekend. I think people would be much happier if they had Monday. I mean, yeah, Monday off. So if they had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But if that happens, right? So say we get Mondays off. Does Tuesday then become the new Monday? Yeah, I guess they would. They get used to having, but it's just like there's just like this anxiety. Like when I was working, I had so much anxiety Sunday night. Like my Sundays would be ruined sometimes by these jobs that I worked at, and people love to complain, but when I was working at jobs, especially that like I didn't enjoy working at, where like people were mean, mostly when people were mean, I would have like severe anxiety the night before going to work on Monday, because I'd be like, oh my god, I have to spend time in this closed area with people who I don't like and they don't like me, and we have to make it this work somehow. Like, ugh. Ugh. It brings you annoyance, Mac Daddy? What is annoying about Monday? What annoys me about Monday too is that it's like less spread. Like things are pretty busy, because like it's like all the things that you didn't get done on Sunday gets pushed off to Monday. So then it's just like another hectic day.
Just another manic Monday.
A 3-day weekend wouldn't be bad. You have Friday night, right? So you have Friday night, you get to look forward to Saturday. Sunday could be your day to like run errands, and then Monday you can sleep in.
Productive, energizing days are days that have exclusively to do with Adderall. Like, you know, where I am in a bottle or after a bottle. Like today was a productive, energizing day because I'd been long enough away from Adderall that when I took it, it made me productive, but not long enough away from it that when I took it, it made me all thwacked out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Fly Guy, that's what I mean. It would be for everyone. I was thinking of Manic Monday too. Carrot, I'm Wednesday's child. I'm full of woe. I like that they bring up that saying. Saturday's child works hard for a living, but the child born on the Sabbath day is fair and wise and good and gay. So wait, what's the Monday's child?
What day was I born on?
I don't know. We can look it up.
Yeah, okay.
So it goes, Monday's child is fair-faced, Tuesday's child is full of grace, Wednesday's child is full of woe, Thursday's child has far to go, Friday's child is loving and giving, Saturday's child works hard for a living, but the child born on Sabbath day is fair and wise and good and gay. I do not like that at all. I'm born on a Wednesday. Whoa, you're a Wednesday. Whoa, also Fly Guy. Why does the one who's born on the Sabbath get to be all like the dude? Like also, the Sabbath dude, the Sabbath people who are born on Sabbath, according to that saying, has 3 things that they're good at, whereas everyone else just has 1 or 2.
I bet I'm born on a Sunday.
Probably. Yeah, it is that. It's C.J. O'Connell. That is why we learn in the Netflix series that Wednesday is called Wednesday because she was born on Friday the 13th, but her name is Wednesday because of that poem. I mean, I have woe over Mondays.
You and Garfield both.
Yeah. I'm gonna go look up Eric's day of birth. They just needed the poem to rhyme.
I think Wednesday's child is full of love.
Yeah, probably.
Eventually, that's what causes him to be full of woe. Did you figure it out?
No.
Oh, that's my fault.
Hold on. I got it. October. April.
What day of the week was April 27th, 1971?
Tuesday.
April 27th, 1971 fell on a Tuesday.
Tuesday's child is Eric. Tuesday's child is full of Eric. Or is that what it says?
Yeah.
Tuesday's child is super rad. Wednesday's child is super bad. That's how you feel about that poem. is Tuesday's Child?
It's like, oh,
I was born in 1971, yeah.
yeah, what's the poem again?
What is Tuesday's Child full of?
According to Facebook, Monday's child is fair of face. Tuesday's child is full of grace.
Oh,
Full
full
of
of
grace.
grace.
That's why everybody should call me Your Grace. Or Your Eminence. Saturday's Child is not a slud. Destiny's Child is full of Beyonce.
It's funny because like all the things that an NI person would be interested in, I look up, and then I find negative things that are said, and I'm like, what the heck?
Well, darling, you suffer from being the most intuitive type.
Mm.
I was thinking about this out in the driveway there when I was smoking a cigarette. When you talk about when we use the words, like we say, intuitives are like this, sensors are like this. The fact is, there's only really one pure intuitive, and that's an INFJ. Because both of their subjective epistemology functions are unconscious and instrumental. So, their knowledge function is intuitive, followed by the intuitive or communicative interface function, followed by the intuitive or communicative deliberation function, and only impacts are evaluated on a sensory level deficiently. In contrast, my impacts are intuitive, my deliberation's intuitive, my interface is intuitive, but my knowledge is sensory. So I have subjective ways of knowing, which is part of why ENTP is so skeptical. It's like, I don't use my intuition to know what's true. I use my intuition to know what's wrong. And I don't know what's right until I've experienced it. Therefore, I'm less intuitive than an INFJ. I think in terms of most to least intuitives, it goes INFJ, ENFJ, because they have absolute value, unconscious, subjective epistemologies rather than instrumental. Then ENTP, and then INTP, and then probably INTJ. In terms of most to least intuitive, that's the top of it. Because even though only the two N perceiving functions are technically intuition functions, when we talk about intuition and people being intuitive, we're talking about them prioritizing meanings and communications and statuses over impacts and in emotional engagements and realities, you know. So TE is the sensory interface function in that it deals with actual dynamic systems as they actually are. Whereas FE is an intuitive interface function because it deals with dynamic systems as after they've been processed into meanings. That person may genuinely feel that way, but for an FE person, that gets converted into a status that guides you. So we have explanations for understanding other people that aren't dealing with the actualities, but dealing with what kind of thing the actuality represents, which is not something that TE does. Well, they're not at the bottom of the list. They're just not among the top 5 intuitive types because you'd probably put ENFP after INTJ and probably put INFP after ENFP. Because the thing is, both ENFPs and INFPs have both sensory epistemology functions. They've got subjective deliberation and subjective knowledge. So that limits the capacity of them to be intuitives as we normally understand the term. It doesn't make them worse or something, right? It's not like sensors are worse and intuitives are better. If anything, it's the opposite, you know. Intuitives have a lot of problems. We are not well suited for surviving normal lives in the world. We just aren't, you know. Rachel lost her phone like in 5 seconds the other day. You know, she had it in her hand and she immediately lost it. I remember in a couple days before that, same thing with me. I had something. It was impossible that it could not be in my hand because I just had it, and of course I set it down in the bathroom when I was getting a tissue or something like that. You know, it's hard being an intuitive. Frankly, it's not hard for us now because we've been unfairly and undeservedly empowered, but. But that's what intuitives need to fucking thrive at all. We can't very successfully attend to all of the things that are important, right? We're so caught up in the meanings of things and what matters more and not, and that it's a challenge for us to just do what we're supposed to do this next thing in front of us, you know? Like, Rachel and I get thrown off by choices that require any kind of compromise. We want a clear, single best course. Even though I'm ignoring, I want that too. I don't like things where we get half of what we want here, or we get half of what we want here, and then we just stall. We just stall like we can't do anything because we can't calculate these subjective compromise things effectively. Yes, ISFJs are more intuitive than ISTJs. ISTJs are I would say probably ESTJs are less intuitive than ISTJs because of the NI polar. I'd put ESTJs probably last in terms of intuitive. ESFPs, they've got an intuitive knowledge function, and at least, whereas both epistemology functions of the ESTJ are sensory, TE and SI. Whereas like the same is true of ISTJs, but they don't have either of the intuitions polar. So I don't know. ISTJs, maybe with both of them instrumental though. Maybe ISTJ is the least intuitive type, and ESTJ is actually a little more intuitive than that. Do INTJ males and ESTJ females pair well as a couple?
INTJ supervises ESTJ. So maybe.
So probably not. I don't think supervisor relationships make for good couples, or at least not for lasting couples. The power dynamic's too skewed. Like, people might not think this, but Rachel and I are very equally powered in this relationship.
Yeah.
Other people might interpret me as being the boss or something, but it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah. I think it appears that way more than it actually is.
Yeah. You know, if anything, Rachel probably makes the most decisions. It may seem like I'm making all the decisions all the time, but, you know, I'm. Well, the thing is, anytime I look at Rachel and she's looking troubled, uncomfortable, unhappy, or whatever, then it's time to change whatever plan it is that I've got in the works here, because that's not going to fly. So, in that regard, she's kind of like a passenger, but she's kind of like a navigator. And she's kind of like a quality control person.
Yeah.
Quality control.
Yeah. And she's really good at letting me take the time I need to realize I fucked up without lecturing me about it, while conveying to me that maybe I need to think a bit with her eyes or whatever. We have a lot of interesting conversations. Even if I'm doing the majority of the talking, Rachel and I don't know, it feels to me like we're having an interesting conversation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I found it really interesting when Rachel was explaining the concept of staging to me today.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely didn't get it. Like, okay, how does this, like, put this little stupid bowl on this thing make somebody want to buy the house more, right? Well, Rachel pointed out that what people do is they think, oh, I can put my stupid little bowl there. There's a lot of people have stupid ass shit like that.
Mhm.
My dad had so much stupid ass shit like that.
Yeah.
Bowls and cups and mugs and steins and so many objects. It was like object assault. I'm happily looking forward to um, a space that we successfully managed not to clutter up with objects. You know? We obviously have some objects, but I feel like this process has helped me be even better at throwing shit away, determining when objects ought not be kept, and being okay with getting rid of some objects, then going like, well, I probably should have held on to that for a little while longer or something. You know, if I had known we were going to be back in that house for 30 days, I probably would have held on to those gamer chairs for a little while longer.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's one of those things. I made the right decision with the information I had at the time.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember, this is true throughout life. Bad beats are never bad bets, definitionally. What happens is people forget that when they get too concerned with how things are going to play. So it's like, you make the right decision when Kobe comes around based on the data that you have available. You don't err on the side of caution. And people, by and large, disagree with that. But the fact is, life's like poker. You have to make the best bet given the situation, or fold depending on the situation, right? If you do that, if you get your money in, and you've got 3 of a kind, and he's got top pair, and another one of his top pair cards comes out, and his 3 of a kind is better than yours, he wins the hand. You still played the better poker. You had too much of an advantage not to go all in that context. You read the situation right. You just got unlucky, right? All risk management has to operate through that frame ultimately, because there's infinite possible ways in which something could go catastrophically wrong. So the potential for catastrophic consequences, just the existence of it being possible, can't be an influence in any of our decision making. There has to be a substantially unique risk of consequences that are catastrophic for us to use it as a calculi, as a factor in calculations. And unfortunately, people don't operate like that, which is why we have such terrible public policy all the time. People want to make sure that whatever else happens, if people die of COVID, that they can't be yelled at for not being tough enough on lockdowns. They're just covering their ass, right? But their job as public officials is to make the correct decision, which cannot be predicated on evaluating impacts. How is our private policy doing? Ours is doing great. Our private policy is doing fine. I'm feeling pretty good about us right now, actually. Like, we're being pretty responsible, making some good decisions, making considered decisions, like adjust fixing mistakes as they come up. I mean, by the time I'm done sending this pod away, I will have repacked this fucking thing like 5 times. But, you know, it's just, I've had to learn about how to live out of a pod, which is its own unique TE thing. So, since I don't know intuitively, I've got to experience doing it wrong this way, doing it wrong that way, doing it wrong this way, doing it wrong that way. But I do eventually successfully TE. So now when I go into the pod, it's almost all ready to go. You know, it's like, it's almost ready to send to Fresno. The only thing that interfered with the continuity of the plan was that I learned today that we'd probably be living back in that house during the escrow period, which I was assuming we weren't. So that means I need to take a couple other things out of the pod to keep around the house that otherwise I would have sent away. But, you know, that's it's a fairly small job at this point, now that I've eliminated a lot of extraneous shit, you know? You think you want this to go with you, and then as you're packing and repacking and unpacking, you find yourself throwing more things away. Like, I had this big thing of fishing poles. Well, I pared that down to just 3 like regular kind of freshwater poles and my one big ocean pole, and I taped them up nice and together so that it packs in there better and shit like that, you know. So tomorrow I think will be my last day of pod messing with. We're gonna have to get some bungee cords so the shit doesn't flop around when it gets transported. Pull out whatever we decide we're gonna is absolutely necessary to keep at the house during that 30-day period, and then call the pods people and say take it to Fresno. Hold it there until we get to Mariposa. So that's kind of the plan for tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that after we check out of here, before we meet up with Corey. That'll work fine. And that will allow us to set up some kind of hangout-inable space in the garage. Oh, but I forgot, she's showing up. So we're not going to be able to get into there until after she's done with the showing. So, I don't know, we're going to have to kill a couple hours.
Maybe we can call the hotel and...
Their check-in time is 3.
Oh, it's 3.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll check out like at 10:59 tomorrow, right before checkout time. And then we'll probably go to lunch. Maybe I'll touch base with Jan and see what her schedule is looking like. And then, you know, if it's noon and we still have 3 hours to check in and Janet's not going to be done till 3, well, then maybe we'll go to the racetrack. And tomorrow's Friday, so there'll be horses running. Got a couple races or something.
Okay.
Does that answer your question about our private policy? You look like you're about ready to call it a strain.
Oh, whatever. I'm okay. Whatever you want to.
You're yawning up a storm.
Well, I just took my medicine.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to stress that when I say they're the intuitive interface and deliberation functions, what I mean is that the colloquial way that people use the word intuitive includes non-intuition functions, because an intuitive is somebody who's fundamentally prioritizing communicative matters over actualities. Yes, that poem is the truest of personality type systems. And you can tell because I have so much grace. When you look at me, you probably say, Grace Kelly, is that you? I say, no, it's not. Are you Graceful Grace then? And I say, no, my name's Eric actually. But dear Lord, the grace, people proclaim in protestation. And I say, I know. It's surprising my name's not Grace, but you're just catching a whiff of my Tuesday specialness. I'm not just special, I'm Tuesday special. Born on a Tuesday. Who's born on a Tuesday? You know, the first thing I asked when I popped out of the womb was, what day of the week is it? When they told me Tuesday, I said, oh. Wednesday, the next day, that was the day that I jumped over the Grand Canyon on a horse. I really had to do a lot of talking into the horse to make the attempt. I mean, having a strong sense of good and evil, and even likes and dislikes transcend type. Well, everybody's going to find some kind of evil, kind of like the default kind of evil. For me, it's SE. I think it's your 8-slot function. For me, the worst kind of evil happens when people take action without having deliberated adequately and ideated adequately and cause unforeseen harms. So, if this kind of explanation that I'm making here is correct, then Rachel would find most evil when people use their personal experience to the detriment of what is intuitively true. In other words, when basically somebody doesn't recognize the external reality of things and allows their subjective epistemology to make some kind of decision or something that creates some kind of harms. If you're an INTP or an ISTP, we think the worst evil is when subjective interests subvert justice. With an INFP or an ISFP, it's when black and white thinking hurts people, whether justly or not. When somebody won't make an exception because they're a stickler for the rules, even though that guy obviously really feels bad about it, and can we just forgive him? Like, and then the TI person goes, no, that would be an FI person's version of evil. If you got FE8, you think schmoozing is evil. If you got TE8, you think being a bossy dick is evil. If you got any 8, you think failing to pull the trigger is evil. Or dithering. Dithering when action needs to be taken. So basically, whatever your 8 slot function is, you're likely to find people who have that function in the second slot to be more perpetrators of evil than people with that function in the first slot. For me, that means I find ISTPs and ISFPs more likely to commit the evil of not listening to Eric for long enough, basically, than ESTPs or ESFPs. I'm a big believer that actually ESFPs and ENTPs can have really great, effective relationships as long as they're always working relationships and they're trying to accomplish something together. No, that's not true, Richard Dawkins. I believe in all of the gods at the same time. Why can't I? Richard Dawkins. Your name should have been Dick Calkins, because you're both a dick and a cock. Good for you, Flamo. That's how we prove Richard Dawkins wrong. Or Dick Calkins, as I like to call him. It's just so adolescent, you know? It's just such a primitive way of engaging with things. Like, let's pretend that faith-based traditions can be evaluated with disinterested calculi. Obviously they can't, you know. Any more than you can judge my cooking by pointing to the rules of architecture. And that's basically all. Richard Dawkins made a whole career of that. Saying this burger is bad because it has poor feng shui. How can the polar function be both an absolute value and something not understood well? What makes something an absolute value is whether you view it as an ends or a means. So I view logic as the means to attain goals NE and FE. In other words, I use TI to make sure my ideas won't be invalidated by other people logically. Basically, so I can look smart, right? And I can sound smart and people think I'm smart. So I use TI for that purpose. But I don't really care about TI. So if Rachel gets more than her fair share of something, I don't give a fuck. She can have the more of it. I always give her the better one of the two things. Because I don't really care about fairness like that. I do care about what I want when I want it, though. So if I want something badly, then I don't care about fairness again. I don't care if I'm unfair to you. Because I want to do all those drugs. I don't want you to have any. Because, I mean, it's not that I don't want you to have it, it's just that I want to do them all myself. Like that, right? That's FI as an absolute value that's not understood well. Because I understand mostly what I don't like and what I want right now. Any bigger time scale than that is a nightmare for me in terms of understanding like what I want, what you know. We're moving up to the mountains into the woods. Do I really want to do that? Well, I really don't have any idea, but it's something I think I've wanted for a while, but I don't know if I really want that. And I said to Rachel, it's like, we're not really going to know if this was a good idea until we live there for a while and see if we like it, you know? Presumably, FI person has a lot more clarity about why they want to go where they're going, has a lot more clarity about how much it matters to them, is a lot more capable at handling things that require some kind of compromise, some sort of calculation of, I'm going to give up this thing that I want, but get this thing that I want. I don't understand it well because it's my forward function, but presumably that's what FI people do. It's still an absolute value for me because if I don't get what I want, or when I want it, I throw a little tantrum. You know, whereas if I know it's what I want, then logic be damned, you know, like this way that we're getting this house. One thing I know I want is I don't want the cats to suffer. So we created this rather complex arrangement and deal to minimize the amount of trauma on the cats. It could end up costing us like $50,000, you know, in total costs, in terms of selling the house for a little bit less. Yeah, I don't know. But it's not that often that I know what I want that clearly. And what I do know I want clearly is I want out of Los Angeles and into that house. I may find when I'm up there that I don't actually like it or something. That's conceivable. But for right now, I know very clearly what I want. God, object of worship. It is a TESE definition? Well, no, I mean, it's defining the word in terms of how people engage the concept rather than, because you can't, obviously you can't define God. To define something meaningfully is to allow others to operationally use your definition to do things argumentationally. But if you're doing things argumentationally about God, then you're critiquing my burger for its lack of feng shui. You can't expect a burger to have good feng shui, and you can't expect a house to have the right amount of ketchup on it. Unless that amount is 0. So, we have to understand that the kinds of things we talk about dictate to us the kind of talking we can do about them that's meaningful. We can always talk any way we want about anything, but only certain kinds of talking about certain kinds of things actually convey real meaning. Other communicative events that may be pretending to do that are simply conveying the impression that you've received some meaning, but you can't express in any way that's operationalizable by anybody else what you've learned. Therefore, it's just a feeling. Apple hat stack on my burger. Well, that does sound apple-y. I like apples. Google's burger is right currently. Stack it like that. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I wouldn't want to wrong stack my burger. I don't know if you're aware of this, but these pants, I made them myself out of the real skin of a puma that I killed with my bare hands. It was jumping at me out of a tree. At the last second I saw it, and I just said like this. Pow! I punched it right in the face. I killed it. I took all of its skin off and fur, and I made these pants out of it. And what was interesting is this particular puma had, as part of its stripes and spots and stuff, its species name written. It's just coincidence that it looks like this, but it looks just like it had the species name written on its fur, plus a little self-portrait. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought these would make good pants, and I was right. There's also self-defense. He was this close to ripping out my throat with his fangs, jaws, teeth, mouth pointers. I was lucky I caught a brief sniff of puma in the wind, and my instincts being as razor sharp as they are, punched him right in the face. Also, fortunately for me, he had a fragile septum for a puma, and that's why I was able to kill him in one punch. Is I punched his septum directly into his brain, which is a good way to preserve most of the meat and fur from damage as well. Because not only do I wear these pants, I also eat them. Puma meat is one of the more underappreciated game animals. It tastes just like a cross between chicken, fish, beef, and pork.
Chicken, fish, beef, and pork.
Yeah, it's a perfect cross between all four of them. With just a hint of tofu.
Ooh, tofu.
Yeah, that's the other white meat. What makes the burger impossible? Well, it just is never satisfied. It's like Prince's mom. Or J-Lo. Just impossible.
Impossible.
No, J-Lo, I won't separate out the green M&Ms. If I end up doing it, then I will shove them up your ass when you're not looking. Now, do you still want me to separate them? I didn't think so. Do you want me to genetically modify your organism? Because I will. I will genetically modify that organism and all of your other organisms. So just knock it off, Meghan Markle. You know I don't like you. I'm glad the world's caught up.
They seem to really have, like, caught up.
Yeah, nobody likes Meghan Markle anymore. Thank goodness. It's like Oprah wanted to, like, make her the hero or something, but even Oprah couldn't contain that sociopathic bitch cuntiness. You know?
It's true.
Also, are there really 10,000 definitions of the one true God, as in the prime mover, if you will? There's only one true definition of God, CJ. It's that guy I pray to. If you're not praying to the same guy, you've been fooled by the devil. Oh, and Jesus, too. Don't forget about him. He's just like God, except he's Jesus. He had long hair, but we're going to overlook that. I don't worship shit, Fly Guy. I pray to God. That's different.
That is different.
Worshipping is attempting to put some kind of extra unnecessary meaning on the behavior of prayer. You don't want to put meaning on it like that. That's not susceptible to your human words. No. God prefers you worship the devil than be an atheist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
CJ, you might as well right now just be RSVPing for your Lake of Fire. Lake of Fire. Cindy disagrees. Cindy disagrees with her Lake of Fire? But it's not an acceptable definition. The definition of God is, the definition of the one true God is the thing or things that Eric prays to. It's important to remember that.
Yes.
That way we know who's the single most authority on the subject, and we can resolve all arguments. What does Eric say about it? And that's the right answer. So, by defining things that way, we can eliminate all this silly arguing. So that's what we're going to do. And having resolved the conflict between the Palestinians and the Jews, I think it's about time for me to bid you all a very fair and fond and fondling adieu. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Rachel and I both love you very much.
Yes, we do.
But you still can't go camping with your friends this weekend. You're not old enough yet.